G'day YouTubers, it's the same to you. A council election coming up, and in Sydney with the Greens we're having a trivia night tonight. We're having a great time. And Irene.
Hi, I'm Irene Doutney. I'm number 2 on the Greens ticket for Sydney Council. I'm a public housing resident from Redfern.
I think that's really important that we have a public housing person. I'm just astonished that Chris Harris proposing to look at sustaining public housing and putting more public housing. Nobody backed him up. Everyone in YouTube knows that I'm being evicted in a few weeks, and that's why I can't come to the election to help out. I'll be in Marimula, and so I'll be homeless. And some people here are going to be homeless here. It is a shocking situation. It's called S1, this area, in housing. Do you think anyone in the council at the moment that's like, they must be off their head or something if they don't consider housing prices?
I think there's a huge problem with the public housing in Sydney. The Public Housing Department, Housing New South Wales, has a very peculiar policy about placement. I think council needs to look at different ways of housing people. It would be really good if we could have co-ops and collectives that would provide a bridging form of housing for people who live in Housing New South Wales properties. Once you want to move on, you're trapped, because the private market is now so expensive that it's impossible for people on low incomes and people on fixed incomes, like pensioners, to actually be able to rent in the rental market. And we all know there's a 10 to 12-year waiting list for people to get into public housing. Public housing really needs to be overhauled. We need to create affordable housing, which is something a little bit different from public housing, but cheaper than private rentals. I was a tenant rep for my area. Very hard for people in housing to actually get anything done. It's very hard for them to even find a voice. And this is why I think it's important that Greens get onto council, because we actually care about the people who live in housing, whereas a lot of people just care about development and building more blocks of flats that they're going to sell for bloody millions of dollars. And what about the people that only have $200 a week and are desperately trying to survive? So it's really important for the Greens to get onto council and to try and put forward ideas about community housing, about affordable housing, about joint sorts of housing. And we've got to force these bloody developers to make provision in their developments for affordable housing and for a certain amount of public housing as well. They talk a lot about affordable housing, but we need to bridge for everybody, and we need to mix our communities up so we don't get ghettos of public housing tenants where they're trapped in cheap and nasty accommodation, and they're surrounded in Redfern and Waterloo, surrounded by huge, big developments for rich people. Then they're not for the poor or the regular people who've lived in their areas all their life. So this is what we want to do on council. We want to get the council to assess all its property, to have a look at all our properties and see what properties we can use to create new forms of housing with groups and individuals. And the first place that we'd like to look at is South Sydney Hospital. South Sydney Hospital is an incredible heritage building that is now part of the Green Square development, which is going to be a huge, yuppie development. It's overdeveloped, it doesn't have green space, and it has very little affordable housing. South Sydney Hospital could provide a whole series of different sorts of housing, with shops, with community rooms. There is talk of selling it to Hillsong. To my mind, that is a shocking choice for them to make. This is a community asset and it needs to be returned to the community.
Does the gay community know about this development?
I don't know if the gay community knows about it so much, because I think the gay community is quite caught up with developments around the Imperial, about homophobia on Oxford Street and King Street. These developments are changing the nature of our villages and of our communities around Oxford Street. Look at the battle that's going on in Erskineville over the Imperial. These are our traditional places and we need to keep them. We have to keep fighting against how do I put it, against people who don't want anything new in their backyards. It's really important that we still have our areas, you know, the areas that are for gay and lesbian and transsexual people, and the Imperial and Newtown. You know, we need to keep these venues going, and it's a hard fight in Erskineville. Development is a huge thing. It's going all across our city, and the 2030 vision, really, it sounds nice, but it's about development, and we have to constantly watch and make sure that these developments are made human and humanly friendly and sustainable and green. Thank you.